And welcome to the Steelers Depot live stream here on this Monday, October 31st. Happy Halloween, everybody. I am Alex Kozora. As always, joining me is Dave Bryan. Apologize for being a little bit late here. Halloween trick-or-treat night, and then getting a little bit of work done here before the podcast or the live stream began. Dave, how you doing? And give us a little test audio for the crowd.
Check. I dressed up as a blogger tonight.
That is your cargo pants and what else? Crocs? I don't know what else you're wearing.
Yeah, Crocs and long sleeve gray, the uniform. Yeah.
My Halloween was I was handing out candy, and then I had to go inside to write this Ben article. I came out, all the candy was gone. So the kids stole the candy. So there was one very happy child out there, and that's about it probably.
So you can't trust them, can you?
I know, that lesson learned, but that's all right. I handed it out to some people, but it was one
you
of
left
those.
The rest of the bowl out there, and now it's gone, huh?
Oh, but yeah, just all gone. Just a trail of chocolate behind them. No. All right. Again, we'll try to go maybe 8:30, a little bit sooner, depending on the crowd tonight. But as always, you guys can send the super chats, and you move to the front of the line. Otherwise, Dave and I will answer as many questions as we can in the order in which they came in. We have a $5 super chat to start here. From Tim Chase, who's been a great friend of these live streams, so thank you for that. And I believe the audio is okay. If anyone has any issues, please let me know. But Tim says, if Big Ben had as bad a situation as Pickett, does he would have been worse as a rookie? No run game at all. So basically saying if Ben was in Pickett's situation as a rookie back in 2004, would he have looked as good as he did in that fantastic season? No, I'm sure he wouldn't have. You know, it's hard to debate how much better, how much worse it would have been, and I don't want to absolve or excuse Pickett's play. It's been very up and down and probably been worse over the last several weeks, I would say, compared to where things maybe began. But certainly when you're asking Pickett to run this entire show, that's not conducive to really any quarterback success, much less a rookie's.
Yeah, look, especially behind that line, especially with no running game, especially with the offensive scheme they got going right now. Here's something to think about on this Halloween that I calculated earlier today, and we didn't get it. I didn't get it done by the time we had the podcast this morning here. I have it calculated out that 78 of Kenny Pickett's 190 total dropbacks so far that he's had have come with the Steelers trailing by 14 points or more. So what's 78 of 190, Alex? That's like what, 45%, right around in there?
Roughly. Yeah. Too much. Too many.
All right, so 78 of 190 dropbacks have come with the Steelers trailing by 14 points or more. 92 of his 190 dropbacks, which is damn near half, have come with the Steelers trailing by at least 10 points. And immediately when I put that out on the Twitter machine, people want to know, well, how does that compare to Ben in his rookie season? Because they wanted to know, and I'm not making comparisons here, it's just a FYI, Ben Roethlisberger had 19 total drop back snaps during his entire rookie season when trailing by 14 or more points.
And did most of those come in the Ravens game?
All 19 of them came in the game that he first came into. He made his debut in against the Ravens. So, it's not a great situation that Kenny's getting put in here, let alone being a rookie quarterback, let alone not having a running game, let alone offensive scheme, yada, yada. But, when you're asking this kid to do some things and drop back when, 45% of his snaps are coming in situations that are not conducive to a rookie quarterback, meaning, look, when the opposition's up 14 points on you, the defense can do a lot of different things, can't they, Alex?
Absolutely. Playing from behind is a recipe for disaster, and Pittsburgh certainly felt that against the Eagles yesterday. I know for the season, Pickett's already thrown roughly 55% of the passes Ben through his rookie year, and Pickett's only started a handful of games, and you still have a back half of the season to go. So again, different eras, different teams. Obviously, that's the reason for it, but just kind of shows the different situations each quarterback has found themselves stepping into.
Right, and once again, as you mentioned, the attempts and man, they had a good running game back then with Ben. I mean, we're talking a huge gap of years now, and I know it's easy to do. Well, how did Ben do? And we're going to get a lot more of that moving forward. Well, how did this compare to Ben? But I mean, it's a lot of differences, and it was a lot different game back then too.
Lumberzack 94. Hey, Dave and Alex. Somber season so far, and looking to next year, do you guys see the Steelers getting a designated run game coordinator? Not necessarily the same as the O-line coach, though. I don't know for sure, but I don't think so. As you said, Lumberzack, typically in Pittsburgh, the offensive line coach is the de facto run game coordinator, and that makes sense, and that's fine. I don't know exactly how it's structured today with Matt Canada and Pat Meyer, but I don't believe they'll do that. Can't rule anything out, but I don't get that sense right now.
They got to get any type of run game going.
They do.
I don't think we're gonna see it this year, but that's what I'd be trying to focus on the most right now because you can't have that kid back there throwing the football 40 something times a game.
Bruce Myers, is it too soon to talk about the 2023 draft? Probably not. Our Jonathan Heistrader churns out articles every single week. I believe he has one up today. I can pull that up as we talk of his scouting report coming off the college football weekend. But I don't have a lot of particular knowledge there, so I'm probably not one to talk about it intelligently. But it's certainly worth looking to the future right now. And there's
another absolutely, and in the trenches, I hope.
Article I'm pulling up now on Ohio State tackle Paris Johnson, his game against Penn State as the Buckeyes pull away from the Nittany Lions in that one. Mike Gadesso, hi guys, I'd like to make a suggestion to start calling the terrible podcast the terribly depressing podcast. I say this as an indictment on the season and Steelers' future. Not your fine work. Yeah, it's been less. I'm sure it's been less entertaining, less joyful to listen lately. But that is the state of the Steelers, and we will talk about the state of the Steelers, good or bad. Unfortunately, it's been mostly bad this season.
Yeah, and it hadn't been a lot of variance in the stuff either. There is, end up talking about the same kind of stuff because we're seeing the same kind of stuff on the tape. And I mean, even the defense here, there's not much we can rally around or throw out much positive when it comes to the defensive side of football. Look, you have a adjusted net yards passing attempt number around what I put out there, 4 point something, and a defensive number now at 7.0, and a differential of that of 2.9, a negative 2.9 differential. That's bad. I mean, that is bad. And I didn't think the defense would be as great as many people thought it might be this year. But look, you lose T.J. Watt like you've lost him for the amount of weeks. That's going to have a huge impact on things. But man, they're giving up explosive plays. You'll lead the league in explosive plays given up, and you obviously saw how they got dismantled when trying to basically sell out and stop the run portion of an RPO. It was pick your poison pretty much in that game, and they and Alex and I talked on the podcast, or at least I thought they should do everything possible to not get beat by the run portion of the RPO and take their chances with Jalen Hurts maybe pushing the ball vertical, and he did so successfugly.
And that's the mark of a good team. They take what the defense gives you, and they can beat you every which way, and that's what Philadelphia showed in that game. Raged EA2, good evening. I've heard you say Rudolph and Trubisky will not be the Steelers next season, but wouldn't it make sense to re-sign one as a backup? Will the Steelers do that? If so, which one? So yes, I have said that I don't expect Trubisky nor Rudolph to be a Steeler next year. Trubisky under contract, but I can't see him being a Steeler under contract. They will need to get a veteran quarterback. I, of course, agree with you there. They'll need somebody to back up Kenny Pickett, obviously. But what is the incentive for Rudolph to re-sign here? There certainly is none. He is counting down the days to go, barring him not getting traded tomorrow. And Trubisky on that salary to be the backup, to go from captain starter to backup, doesn't seem like that would be a tenable situation. So they will have to find somebody, but I don't see any way or incentive or reason why either of those guys would remain in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Rudolph is just waiting for the gate to drop.
He's like James Washington last year. All the Oklahoma State guys, yeah.
Yeah, he's just ready to get out of there. And as Alex said, I mean, you can't let Trubisky come back on that salary. And I think at this point now, he's probably, even the short stay that he's had here, he's probably ready to try it somewhere else already.
Although I don't know if any player ever admits it, but Trubisky should realize, hey, I'm never going to be like a long-term starter in the NFL. It's just not going to happen for me. So I don't know if he'll ever admit that to himself, but that is the thought there. Got a $10 super chat, very generous, from Keith McCrae. Says, Alex, last week you highlighted the reason why Pickett, and I believe this is referring to Pickens, wasn't targeted in the second half. At first glance, was it the same reasons he was only targeted 3 times this week? I haven't gone through the offense of all 22 yet. I started with a defense. I think game circumstance certainly has something to do with that. Whenever Pickens is your vertical Z outside, threat, and you're playing from behind, you're down big most of the game. Defenses aren't going to be allowing stuff over their head. They're going to play more soft coverage, more conservatively, and keep everything in front. So that's probably one reason. And just in general, and I'm not saying you don't have to agree with it, but whenever Pickens is the vertical Z type receiver, those guys are typically more feast famine. The volume isn't quite there. It's really trying to maximize the couple of targets they get. Mike Wallace was never a guy that had 100-something catches in a season, but he was somebody that took advantage of the 60 or 70 that he would catch as a best case scenario, Z threat. So it's a bit of the position he plays. It's a bit of the game circumstance, and it is probably falling on the coaches for not trying to find ways to get him more involved as well.
Yeah, other than just the deep sidelines, they should have by now tried to at least make a look. This team doesn't throw slants anyway, right? I mean, they're not utilizing putting people in space, running where they can make plays after the catch, and especially not him. He's running a lot of curls, a lot of comebacks, and a lot of go routes, and that's it. If he gets a press man situation, they'll try to throw him the football, but that's about it. And I mean, he did have a couple of extra other targets in there, but one, it was a defensive pass interference, right? One was an offensive pass interference. Or was it defensive pass interference against him? I know the offensive pass interference was against him.
I think there was a DPI, I want to say.
And then, obviously one of those ones that was thrown his way, probably should have came down with. It was ruled incompletion. People think that maybe that should have got challenged, but they should try to get him more involved, even if it's a wide receiver screen or something like that. Get him involved in the game early some way, and other than, because it's obviously pretty predictable how they use him at this point, and unless something changes, it's going to be maybe 6-7 targets at most in a game, and that's probably wishful thinking right now.
Yeah, it certainly is still disappointing. You throw the ball 38 times for Pickens to only have 3 targets. Not a good enough ratio to me. We have our friend here, Matt Canada, in the chat. He's got a channel. He says, in all caps, Alex, if you want any questions on my play calling, please email me. So I will email you, Matt Canada. And
as soon as we get off.
Yep, send your resume over as well. I think you'll need it after this year. Tim Chase, another $5 super chat. Thank you, Tim. Why can't an NFL caliber O-line not run block at all? And can Dan Moore be a viable left guard? Yeah, the run blocking, again, I haven't gone through the tape of this game. It's been up and down, mostly down this year, not doing a good job at the second level. I think there really is, and Dave, we spoke to this on Friday, I believe, there is no run game identity. Pittsburgh does not know who they are, and I think identity is so important with a run game to know who we are, how we win, what schemes we can rely on in big-time moments. In Pittsburgh right now, they don't have anything that resembles that.
Yeah, look, I mean, they utilize... And it bears out in the stats. I was looking at this a little while ago as well, too. How many just flat out jet sweeps they try to integrate into their running game. It's so bad that they're in the top of the league. I think top 4 or 5 in jet sweep carries by a wide receiver. Now those are doing well, as far as the yards per carry go, but obviously you can't run. There's only so many times, at least we think there's only so many times during a game that you can run a wide receiver jet sweep, but that's how they're trying to manipulate the run game because it has been so bad. You look at it, I was surprised to actually see, I think they have 26 runs of 10 yards or more this season, that ranks them sort of in the middle of the league in that stat. A, I was surprised to see that, but B, a good half of those are wide receiver runs.
And how many of those are quarterback scrambles?
Right, there's a good 3 or 4 of those are scrambles too. So, as far as the traditional type, run game, or zone scheme, they can't run, and they can't run that with any consistency at all. They've had some luck with the draw plays, but usually you're running those draw plays in second and 17 or third and 22 or whatever, and those they've had some decent yardage on those, but that's more of a situational call on top of it there. But and then you had a buzzsaw of it's not an excuse, but they had obviously going up against a good front with some talented players this week that made it tough. I mean, you had Najee Harris in the first half, 4 carries, no yards, right?
Right.
And
We both had as many yards as Najee Harris in the first half.
Right. And I feel a lot healthier probably than he does right now.
Probably. Not as you feel healthier, but yeah, it's just really bad overall. I was gonna make a joke there and it fell flat, so I'm gonna abort that one. $10 super chat from Chupa Thingy6173. Is this how the Browns, Bengals, Jets, Dolphins, and Lions felt for years? Dear God, I don't think my liver can handle this. How did those people put up with this for years? Chupa Thingy, I'd love to talk you off the ledge, my man, but I don't know what to say. Just hopefully, the one thing I will say that Dave and I spoke about as well is that these teams can turn around quickly. I'm not saying Pittsburgh can and will, but the Eagles are a great example of that. 2 years ago, they were a 4-win team. Now they're Super Bowl contending favorites, at least in the NFC. So I'm not saying that will happen in Pittsburgh, but teams' fortunes can change pretty quickly if, of course, you do the right things to change those fortunes.
Yeah, I would make it a goal. If you're depressed about the season and with good reason, and needing a reason to kind of watch, if you will, look for the little things when it comes to Pickett, like red zone. Pickett's not been great in the red zone so far. So that's one specific area that hopefully we can sit here in another 8 weeks from now and say, man, look at what he did in those first, before the bye, and let's look at what he did after the bye when it comes to his red zone passing. That's one area. Another area is, man, can they get this kid at least playing more snaps, like I said at the top there, of not playing 10, 14 points behind, in a game? How does he play when it's more of an even kill type situation? I mean, we've seen him actually put together some decent early game drives in the last couple of games. Mm-hmm. The problem is, it seems when they get out of script there, then nothing. Now, obviously, look, he this game Sunday was not a great game for him at all. There were some instances probably where he bailed from some pockets he probably shouldn't have. His accuracy on a couple of those throws, he got away with probably 2 more picks that he probably should have had, kind of thing. But he also made a couple of throws in this game as well too. In fact, I think that pass interference call, that OPI on George Pickens that I just referenced, that was a far hash throw,
Mm-hmm.
and up where his guy could get it, and he made it. There was another situation, I think, down on closer into the red zone, however, where you have that kind of that inside post there that probably should have hit that instead of trying to go deep down the outside there. There did seem to be some more miscommunication in this game between him and the wide receivers. So you're hoping to see less variance with him, a more average game, if anything, not the highs with a lot fewer lows mixed in there on top of it. But once again, when you're playing 10 or 14 points behind in the second half, defenses are gonna try to take stop you from taking it up over the top, and then you're going to be left with a lot of those 0 air yard passes, up underneath. And I forget what the count I had on those, something like 13 or 12 of those completions that he had on Sunday were balls that did not even travel past the line of scrimmage.
Another $10 super chat from Chupa Thingy 6173. Also, thoughts on Roquan Smith going to Baltimore. Sorry if you already covered this. We have not. Personally, I'm concerned going forward given their history of middle linebacker development and signing them long term. He's a beast. Yeah, it was a pretty price to pay. Second and a fifth, and I think maybe there's a player going over there as well, AJ Klein. So it's a lot. But I don't know. I haven't watched Smith's game too much this year. I know it's been high and low, so we'll see how it looks. But not a guy I wanted to face twice a year, and now a guy that Steeler fans will have to face twice a year, at least for this year.
Yeah, and they got as part of the deal, they got the Bears to eat most of the remaining part of his salary this year. I think they're going to pay him something like 580,000 or something for the rest of the season out of their pocket. So it's a rental that way, and you would think that they might try to re-sign him at some point. But if they don't, and if he skips off via unrestricted free agency, he's probably going to bring back some form of compensatory pick. So it's
Right.
on the surface, it's a rental situation for them that I think they had a couple of 5th round picks. So that's they probably weren't long for AJ Klein either there, but it's a 2nd round pick with not much money involved in it to try to rent them to try to push this team over the top for them.
Yeah,
and we'll see if they're able to re-sign them.
It's been a busier than expected deadline, and tomorrow is the official trade deadline, so we'll see what happens by 4 p.m. All right, let's go back to the non-super chats here, try to get through as many as we can because we had so many super chats and really appreciate that. I do want to hit some of the non-super chats. Still, Mutated Genome says, hello, Alex and Dave. Any trade scenarios that can help improve this team this season? Who would you try to move and for what position? Player-for-player deals are pretty rare. I know Klein was kind of a throw-in in that Bears-Ravens deal we just mentioned, but nobody that you're going to bring back that's going to help you this year. If you're trading, if you're selling, you're getting draft capital, you're getting picks, and so that's the most likely thing to occur. Who would I look to trade? I would certainly be listening very strongly on Mason Rudolph, and I'd be listening on Chase Claypool as well. Those are the two guys I'd be looking to potentially move.
Yeah, I would as well, and like you said, for draft capital, because you start peeking ahead to what the holes this team's going to have to try to fill during the off season. They're going to need some draft picks, I think. But can you get somebody to give you something? If you can't get at least a 4th at this point for Chase Claypool at this point of the season right now, and that might even be tough to do. I mean, if you could get it, I'd say go ahead and get that 4th, but I would wait until the draft time and see if I can't get anything better or package something or whatnot for him. But I would think that the 2 names that you mentioned there, Claypool and Mason Rudolph, would be the 2. If they did anything, those would be the 2 out the door.
Your best guess, best prediction, does Pittsburgh trade anybody by tomorrow?
My gut tells me no, but because it's just but once again, how many times do we see them in this situation anyway,
Sure.
where they are sellers?
Very rare, but I will say no as well. Kenneth Jackson, hey guys, does anybody remember a worse offense in the last 50 years? Statistically, the last time Pittsburgh had an offense this bad from a points per game standpoint, it was just over 50 years ago in 1970. Terry Bradshaw's first year, they also scored, I believe, right on the dot, 15 points per game, and that's where Pittsburgh sits today. And so, from a stat standpoint, this is as bad as it gets. I mean, you could talk about some late 90s, early 2000 teams, Kent Graham-led offenses, the 80s, all that, but on paper, the numbers say this offense is as bad as it's been since 1970.
And as does the adjusted net yards per passing attempt number. Bad.
Absolutely. All right, let me scroll back up. Just lost my place here. K. Jackson, Pittsburgh, the offensive players are starting to voice their frustrations louder and more frequently to the media. I don't know about starting. They've been saying it for a while, but point taken there. Do you think this last game will be the final straw for Canada? Does he last the entire season? Well, Dave, he's still here, and so if they were going to make a move, I figured it would happen by today. So I'm going to proceed on the assumption Canada will be the OC for the Saints game and for the rest of the season.
You would think, and that's dangerous, I guess, but you would think that if they were going to make a move, today would have been the day. Now, I think some sports DJs are saying that they think Thursday, if there was going to be a move made, it'd be Thursday. But why would you go?
Why would it be Thursday?
Why would you go Tuesday practice and Wednesday practice, and then Matt, you're fired, and we'll see everybody else on Monday. If you were going logically, I would think the way the bye week practice schedule is set up, Obviously, they didn't do anything today. Came in probably lifted or whatever treatments or whatnot, but they'll have some semblance of a practice on Tuesday, some semblance of a practice on Wednesday. Uh, if you were going to swap coordinators, it feels like you would have done that today. So you come in with a fresh plan, on Tuesday and Wednesday to try to jumpstart what you might be trying to do next week in practice. So that's my thought on it. If it was going to happen, I would have thought it would have happened today.
Right. It's called Black Monday for coaches, not Black Wednesday or Black Thursday, So, I mean, now, could they reduce roles? Could they change roles? Those things, I guess, are possible, but they're going to be harder for us to see without any sort of reporting that would indicate that. All right, let's see. Next question comes from John Horvat. Says, "Hey Alex, I know." It says, "Hey Alex, I know and Dave have done a great job in the past with being non-biased and fairly." I think there's some typos here, John, but he basically says, "Are you both in the fire Matt Canada boat?" He's asking you and I. I would let him go. I don't know how you can justify the spot. I don't think it'll be a radical seismic shift to turn to Mike Sullivan, the man who's worked closest with Kenny Pickett than anybody in that building. You wouldn't have to change, and you shouldn't change verbiage and overall big picture stuff, but game planning, preparation, game flow type stuff needs to be better, has to be better. So I would make that change. What say you, Dave?
I wouldn't bat an eye if it happened. No, but going back to the person commenter a few comments ago that said, and we talked about this on the podcast this morning here. Is Matt Canada respected by his offensive players on the team? Do they have trust in his system or his play calling at this point right now? If the answer to that is no, and you feel that in that locker room, and nobody has a better gauge of that locker room probably than Mike Tomlin, if you feel that they don't like, trust, or have confidence in what's going on there, then go ahead and make the move. Then go ahead and make the move. And as you brought up on the podcast, Mike Sullivan's a lot more structured, Army background, kind of, I wouldn't say demands, but I think the way he probably handles himself would command a little bit more respect there. He's already working with the quarterbacks and all like that. So if it's as disjointed in that locker room as maybe it appears to us on the outside that it is, and if there is indeed issues with the confidence or ability and all like that in Canada, then sure, go ahead and make the change.
But it seems like Pittsburgh will hold on to Canada.
He's not going to be back. He's not going to be back next year.
Right. If you guys could like the stream, that would help us out quite a bit. You guys would really would appreciate if you guys supported the stream by hitting that like button. All right, we'll get back to the questions now. David O, again, about Canada. Will he be relieved of duties tomorrow? I'm not holding my breath on that. If it was going to happen, it would make sense for that to be today, but I guess we shall see. App Gator says, "Happy Halloween. I agree. Najee needs to stop dancing and put his shoulder down. Enough of these low to high reads and vanilla route concepts. Is this the Steelers' version of tanking?" I wouldn't say they're tanking. I think they're trying. They're just not very good, and that's what a not very good team looks like.
They're still trying to throw deep. They're just not hitting them.
Sure.
As I brought up the stat. SIS is not updated yet. They'll update by the morning time and all like that. But they were near the top of the league in 20-yard air yard attempts. But the problem is they're not hitting them. Now you can hyper focus that and say, okay, well, needs to be more stuff between 10 to 12, 10 to 15 yards. Yeah, absolutely. There does. But on top of it too, I hate to keep going back to this stat though. I mean, you've got a quarterback that's playing 45% of his dropbacks down 14 points. That allows the defense to do a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. And he's still trying to learn what he's seeing across from him too,
Sure.
And that makes it a lot harder when you have zero run game to lean on whatsoever. It's just as I said the other day, you've got three problems that are essentially six problems here.
And then you put on top of that, he's played some tough, aggressive defenses that show a lot of looks, that have good coaches, and are just a well-schemed and well-oriented coach team. Again, not excusing Pickett. He's got to be better. The production, the overall results have been poor, and I don't think he was looking very good against zone coverage yesterday and reading the field well and making good decisions overall. But it has been a tough set of circumstances, no question about that. Chris Black says, Alex, when will this pain end? I wish I knew. It'll be the rest of this year at least, and try again in 2023. Mike Adesso, I'm kind of surprised that none of us talked about the Pickens challenge, and there was a super chat that came in, so I lost my spot, but basically saying, do you think Tomlin should have challenged it? We did briefly mention that on the podcast today. I'm okay with a non-challenge there. I don't know if he would have won it, just with the uniqueness of the catch, no catch rules.
In real time, and the 45 seconds that followed it, I thought maybe he should, but the further I get away from it, especially I guess knowing the way the game played out on top of it there, I have a bigger issue with the feet tangling on Deontay on that deep ball down the side. With that being a non-call, I mean, Deontay, I think, makes that catch there if he doesn't get stepped on from behind, but they'll just call that incidental contact. But I mean, he was kind of free of the guy, and the guy really wasn't making a play on the ball. But no, I'm not all that wrecked by Tomlin not challenging in real time. Like I said, I was saying, I challenge that thing, but further I got away from it, I'm okay.
Grant Humphrey, extreme level hypothetical, but is there a situation where Con White will say, we didn't draft Pickett and it's not looking good, let's just wash our hands of this guy? I really don't, but who knows? I put those odds pretty slim. I get the logical thoughts there, and you're right about that. I forget, was there a new regime in Arizona when they went from Josh Rosen to Kyler Murray? I forget if they had a new regime or not, so you can maybe potentially compare that, but I think Con was still in that room, still part of the process, not a complete outsider the way that Weidl was when they drafted Pickett. So I think it would have to be bad in 2023 for this team to consider trying again at the quarterback position.
Look, they're not going to know who he is until about 6 games into 2023, I don't think, especially if they keep playing behind like they're playing, this year and all. But I don't think they would rip the cord on it just after this year.
And I'm pulling up here. Ben wants his team to take more deep shots, but again, to your point, they're doing it. They're just not effective at hitting it, and that's the difference.
Right. I mean, they took another what? How many passes? I'll have to pull this up while you talk. How many times they took 20-yard deep shots in that game?
Yeah, it was a fair amount to read the quote here from Ben. To me, if I'm the coordinator, this is what I'm doing right now. You have nothing to lose. I'm literally saying I'm throwing the ball deep on first, second, and third down. I'm not throwing the 5-yard pass. I'm not throwing the 3-yard pass right now, and it doesn't have to be a deep 7-step drop. I know you worry about protection. You can catch it and throw a ball 10, 12 yards downfield, and they can do more with it. Ben saying, so that's his commentary on the state of the Steelers offense. I guess he's saying it doesn't always have to be 20-plus yards, but it shouldn't be the short passes.
Looks like Alex, no, that's yards gained. I'm going to have to resort this here real quick here. It would be air yards that I need to filter by for the deep passes. And it looks like 4 of them of 20 or plus air yards in that game yesterday, and 0 for 4 with 1 interception.
Not good, Bob. Not good. 105039. Hey, y'all active on Twitter. Never caught a live session, though. Glad to finally catch one. Glad you're here. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate the 102 people in the chat right now. Will the Steelers trade some picks for an elite corner? We have a lot of good number 2s, but you need someone to cover the Chases, Diggs, and Devontaes. I mean, I don't know what elite corner is out there that's available right now, and you could try to draft one, but who knows what that conversation is going to look like. So, doesn't look likely right now, AppGator.
I'd like to see them go free agent route again with a higher quality corner. That way is what I would like to see them try to do.
Yeah, I hear that. I don't know who's going to be available. I know And there's a risk, though, because the scheme fit, you think about the Chargers paying J.C. Jackson all that money, and it didn't work out, and it hasn't worked out so far. But I think a lot of needs for this team, high-end corner. I talked about Witherspoon being such a key kind of X factor to this team. Could he find that consistency? Could he play as a number one cover corner the way he did the last 6 weeks of last season? Obviously not happening this year, and this team is missing a really top-end type of corner like Witherspoon could be when it all comes together.
I would rather sacrifice and make sure I have 3 solid edge rushers and then take my chances that Russian coverage works together that way. And they just, obviously not having Watt has killed them on the defensive side this year. And, not having that third guy be able to step up and help alleviate, nobody's going to replace TJ Watt, but if you get some semblance of more than what you've gotten out of Anderson and Malik Reed, that would have been nice and probably helped a little bit in this. Casey, going to be interesting to see when Casey comes back, how he gets utilized. Not that was the missing piece or anything, but I would rather get a guy that can get after the quarterback and make that a priority, and then supplement the rest on free agency.
Cole Evans, if the Steelers have a top 3 pick, do they really not take the chance at taking Bryce Young or CJ Stroud? I get that. I haven't watched those guys from a scouting lens. I think right now I would take Bryce Young over CJ Stroud, but you're in the position where if you have a chance at one of those quarterbacks and you like Pickett and you're going to stick with Pickett, then you have the opportunity to trade down for a king's ransom, and that could really help this team build around Kenny
love
Pickett.
to see that. I'd love to see that.
That seems to be the more likely approach. But I understand your point. If you love Bryce Young, if you love C.J. Stroud, and you're not a big Pickett fan, I can understand saying, hey, let's go take one of these elite-level quarterbacks. Next question comes from Great103. If they fire Canada, who will they replace him with? Hopefully not Mike Sullivan. Anything in season would be Sullivan. Postseason, we'll have to see. Sullivan will be a candidate. Obviously, there's the track record of going in-house. That's not looked very good lately, so odds are they'd probably go out of house, but we will have to wait and see. Let's see. Everything keeps shifting on me here just a little bit. Let me scroll back up and hit some more questions for you guys. Next one is going to come from, if I can find it here. Why does Mike T ignore the offense and spend all his time with Flores and Austin? That's from Bryan. I don't know if that's accurate. I assume it's probably not. Obviously, he's a defensive-minded type of guy, but I think Tomlin's been on the job long enough that his hands are in all the pots, and so
I would expect that to be the case. Yeah.
On the O-line, who are the biggest culprits? I got to go through the tape on this one. I thought the left side of the line, Dan Moore Jr. probably didn't play as well, but they've all had their up and down and a lot of down moments right now.
Especially in the run blocking department.
Yeah. Oh, let's see if I can find some more here for you guys. Probably be here for another 10, 15 minutes or so. Let's see. Which quarterback is better, Young or Stroud? Right now I'm leaning Young, but I have not really sat down to watch those guys, Russ.
Yeah, I haven't studied in depth or anything. I just, just from watching and all like that.
Donald Nolan started.
I am a height bias guy though, so I would go more Stroud because I worry about Bryce and his size,
Sure.
But that's just me.
Donald Nolan, start of the season, everyone was saying the reason for the Steelers' poor offense was Mitch. Now Kenny's been in and playing even worse, and the blame has shifted to Canada and Tomlin. Why? I think Canada's been getting a lot of heat since day one, basically, so I don't know if that's accurate in terms of Trubisky. Certainly there was a lot of low-hanging fruit with Trubisky and an itch for people to see Pickett, and so maybe that was why Trubisky was getting so much of the criticism, but I think Canada has been criticized pretty plentifully the entire year.
I think so too, and longer than just a year. Yeah, this year.
George, do you think all options are open for the draft, including quarterback? Quarterback, probably not. Everything else, though, is basically on the table there, George.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd draft. I'd hope they wouldn't spend another draft pick on a running back right
Okay.
now. Just figure out a damn way to platoon those two guys more. And if you pull the cord on Najee, who my feelings on how that spending a first round draft pick on a running back anyway, and But I mean, they've made their bet in it now. Now build it up front and see if he can get any better with better run. If they don't get a run game, a semblance of a run game next season, you're going to be back in the same boat again with a young quarterback trying to feel his way through things and throwing 45 times a game, down 10 points in the second half.
David O, is Carlos Davis ready for prime time? Alu seems non-existent, and the rest of the line aging. I mean, Davis had the sack. He fell. He kind of got up. Had a good play there at the end there. I don't know. Prime time probably too strong overall, but certainly Alu has not looked like the same guy, and a guy who very much is in the last year of his football career.
I don't think Carlos Davis is a prime time guy at this point here, but I think at some point, as the season goes on, wouldn't be surprised maybe if you see Davis up, and I don't know. We'll see how it's funny. These things have a funny way of working themselves out, as I always like to say here. But poor Alu is a shell of himself right now from just a couple years ago.
$5 super chat from LV. What is the most important position on the O-line to improve run blocking that we need to add based on what we see this year? Guard or center or tackle?
I'd get a kick-ass center.
That's going to go guard. That's what you want to say, guard.
No, but I mean, you got to have, and we talked about this too. I want somebody that's going to lead that offensive line. I want him right slap dab in the middle. I want a smart kid in there. I want another Marquise Pouncey type. In there. I think you got to get that center position squared away. Now, it's not the only position they obviously need, but and I think you could probably pick yourself up a decent guard if you'd scout right, maybe in the third round or something like that too. Fourth round, along those lines. There, they need a lot of help on this offensive line, and they need a lot of help on both sides of the football. And right now, from where I sit, they're not going to have enough draft picks to do it all.
Right. It's tough to isolate it to one position because no line's a collective. It's a starting five, and one good run blocker of the lot's not going to improve results dramatically. I like having that good guard that can pull and get in space and be someone you can try to anchor around. But obviously in Pittsburgh, the history of great centers from Mansfield to Webster to Dawson to Pouncey. When you think Pittsburgh, you think great centers. So I understand that thought as well. Next question comes from David O, wanting to explain about why Gunnar Olszewski returned that punt. I'm sure the timeline on your end was going crazy of people yelling at Gunnar, but that is a no-risk play. If the ball's been touched but not officially down by the punting team the way it was by Philadelphia, it's basically a free moment for the return team to be able to pick that ball up. If he fumbles it and the Eagles recover it, the ball goes back to where it was touched by the Eagles. So I believe it's a first touching rule is what they call that. So there is no risk to Gunnar doing what he did.
All right.
All right, let me scroll back up. Another couple more questions that we will answer. That one was from our David O. Let's see. Next one will come.
Were you surprised Gunnar was active instead of Mark Robinson?
I hadn't thought about it much, I guess. Not really. I mean, I think Robinson has potential, but I think his rookie impact was going to be pretty minimal. And I think Gunnar can do a couple different things for you in terms of the run game, special teams. So I guess not really.
All right.
Let's see. Next question, if I can find it. Let's see. I thought I had one somewhere around here. Let me scroll on down. Todd, what did Todd ask? I know you had a question that I saw I wanted to get to, and I can't find it. How can we move beyond jet sweeps in the season? That's from Todd. A better traditional run game. Running backs that can, get upfield and a line that can block. You rely on those jet sweep type stuff when you feel like other things aren't working, and those, other things, your traditional run game is not working, and so that's why Pittsburgh is trying to find different ways to get the ball on the edge and get receivers involved.
Would you try a little pony at this point?
I mean, to do what exactly, though?
Just to kind of add some mystery of who's going to get the ball. Maybe you can split one up, motion one out. I mean, just, I'm not talking about 20 snaps a game,
Sure.
But, I'd try to get, I really would try to get Jaylen Warren on the field a little bit more in some situations, at least, and at least maybe give some different run game looks that people might not be ready for.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm not
Seven,
saying,
six, 7 plays.
yeah, I'm not saying no to anything with how bad it's been. No bad ideas in a brainstorm, but you want fewer blockers. When you got Pony, you got less accomplished blockers out there. Warren's got some energy, but I don't know. I feel like I want the best blockers out there right now. Is there Tomlin presser this week or waiting till next week? Next week, no Tomlin Tuesday. Tomorrow, John Pennington. Hello, Dave and Alex. Do you think some of the blame has to go on the offensive line coach? Sure. Pat Meyer deserves some of that blame, particularly in the run game. I think pass protection overall, you've seen some progress there, not yesterday, but just overall from where this team was in the summer. But absolutely, Pat Meyer does not get absolved for the team's woes entirely.
Right.
Let's see if I can find the next question. Can we get Leglue a hat on game days and special team snaps? He's going to be better than Cole. I'm not sure what you want him on special teams. He'd be a wing on the field goal team, I guess, but that's about it. But we'll see. Maybe if Jesse Davis plays, I don't know if they're just trying to do something different. That could be something they could think about doing, is playing Jesse Davis, considering they traded for him. Reverse World, is it time to write off Kenny? No. I guess he's answering his own question. And I just lost it because a super chat came in, but that is from Reverse World saying, I just lost where that came from, so I apologize there. Does the rest of the season need to show improvement, even drastic improvement? Yes. So he's saying, don't write off Kenny, but needs to show a lot of improvement the rest of the way. That's more of a comment than a question.
Yeah, look, we need, we have a starting point, and we'll have an end point to see how far he's progressed, and hopefully, once again, I'll be watching closely things like red zone, and I'm interested to see getting more snaps with the game not already out of hand. Like I said, some more even one score games, if you will, type situation. See how he reacts in that. I mean, we got to see him start pushing the football down the field and complete it. Those
Sure.
kind of things on top of it, and minimize the interceptions and the turnovers and those kind of things, and not miss hot reads and those kind of things there. So I mean, how many full games does he play at this point?
3. Yeah,
So
3 of them.
I mean, it's way too early to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, especially the way things are on the offensive side of football.
Ross Swisher, how about we blame James Daniels, Kevin Dotson, and Mason Cole? We get no push inside. Sure, fair to blame those guys. Absolutely. Missed a $10 super chat from Brad Martin, so I apologize for that. Want to get back to it. So thank you for that, Brad. Alex and Dave, have you ever looked back at Josh Allen's rookie year? You talk a lot about him, but he threw 12 interceptions and just barely over 50% completion rate on a 6-10 team. Yeah, I mean, I think we're all pretty aware of Allen's progression, and I get that. And there are many examples of quarterbacks who struggled out of the gate. Peyton Manning, famously his rookie year, threw 26, 28 interceptions. But I think with things like Josh Allen, I'm careful to really talk about that and compare that, because Allen is such a unicorn. It's so rare to see a guy have a dramatic turnaround of his career like that to improve his accuracy the way that he improved it. And he's really one of one. So I don't like to really use that one way or the other, because it's such a unique unicorn situation.
Look, it's tough to come into this league and have success as a rookie, period.
It is. But again, just because Allen struggled, I don't see Kenny Pickett being able to transform his game the way that Josh Allen has. Now, can Pickett improve and get better? Absolutely, and he will. But he's not Josh Allen. No one's Josh Allen. And so I kind of put that comparison or thought aside. A couple more super chats. A lot of super chats tonight, so thank you guys for that. LV, if we get Edge early, I assume he would want to play a lot. Highsmith earned his role. Can we end up in a Melvin Gordon situation if we get 2-3 round Edge? Of course, meaning Melvin Ingram, not Melvin Gordon. I mean,
I would expect it to come via the draft if they got another Edge.
Right. That's why I said draft a guy like 3rd round, because signing up for agent will be tough to do. They won't want to come here. You don't want to have to pay the money, and you run the risk of an Ingram type situation. But with the draft pick, a young guy, he doesn't have a choice. He's coming in. He's got to deal with it, and that's that. So now he's LV saying he thinks about a Melvin Ingram situation if you draft somebody, but Ingram, who is 30-something years old, a veteran guy, the 20-something's not going to have the ability to be as disgruntled as Melvin Ingram was.
Right.
$2 super chat from Simon Varndell. Hi, just joined. I'm going back to the beginning. Thank you, Simon. So we'll catch you whenever you come back to this point of the live stream as we shout out your super chat. But thank you, Simon, for that. Time for just 2 or 3 more questions. I'll scroll back up and see.
Joe Burrow just threw an interception.
Okay, what's the score in that game, in that Browns game?
It's still 0-0. It was a tip ball by Garrett. Garrett got his hands up and tipped, and an interception ran back inside the 20 here.
Got a question from Alfred. Says, hey, Alex, my question is, what does progress look like for Kenny Pickett this season? Gradually scoring more points, better completion percentage. Also, what does progress timeline look like stats-wise? Yeah, I mean,
his completion percentage is nothing wrong with that, especially when he has a completed air distance of 2-point-something yards this past week. But I mean, and we talked about this on the podcast this morning here. What are the 2 things that you can definitively kind of put? And I think the emailer had it something like, "What is his superpower?" or something like that. Let's just call it his best traits that we've seen up until this point, and it's really the same things that it was with him coming out of college. It's his accuracy and it's his poise. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any other kind of, things be able to tack onto that. So I think that's kind of what you're looking for at this point. What else? What other, kind of best traits can he he scrambles nice. He's able to get on down the field that way with his mobility there. I would hyper focus on the red zone. They're not getting down there enough as it is. So when they get down there, they need to come away with touchdowns in there. So that's one aspect of his game to look at. And the other one would be, obviously, can he start pushing the ball down the field and completing them? Would be my take on that to look for.
We've gotten a ton of super chats, probably a record tonight. So I really apologize. I know I'm missing a couple of these, so let me go back.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry we're missing them.
Sometimes they go off screen if it's not a big monetary super chat. But Reverse World $2 super chat. Does keeping Canada mean next OC is outside organization? I don't think it inherently means that. I think you can put the odds to that, but keeping Canada does not mean they're going to go out of house next guy. It does not guarantee that. At least I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I have one from VALI4. Since it couldn't hurt, does Ben have a role in helping to improve the team? Not as a player, as an advisor or special assistant. He knows the team. I don't think Ben has a desire to do that. I don't get the sense that Pittsburgh's organizationally, they have a desire to do that. So
he said on go listen to today's podcast. It just dropped by Ben. He talks about play calling. How many plays he no huddle and percentage of plays that he called when he played. And obviously most of it was no huddle. And at one point he was asked a specific question about wanting to get in coaching, and he sort of laughed it off and left it at he likes being a armchair coordinator.
Yeah, I think he said the most he would ever do is maybe coach his kids in high school or something like that. But I don't think he has any desire to get back into the professional NFL workspace. But get the thought there. And a $5 super chat from David Kapoor, who says, can we get a Halloween doom, agony, and despair, please? So if you want to, Dave.
Gloom, despair, and agony on me. Oh, deep, dark depression, excessive misery. Oh, all right, that's all
there
you
get. Go. There you go, David. Thank you again for the super chat. Let's get 2 more non-super
chat. I wonder how that sounds on the other end. Does it sound as bad as I... No,
I think it sounds okay. Brian Junker, what can KZ add to the secondary? We'll see. It could be some of those 3 safety packages that allow you some versatility to play sub-package against maybe some 12 personnel and things like that, teams who have athletic tight ends, and some different versatility overall. So I think KZ's a guy that can play in the box and play the run effectively. So he won't have a giant role in this defense, but certainly could add a different wrinkle and extra element to it. And if I can find just maybe one more here to close things out, let's try to find a good question for Dave and I to answer. Oh, let's see if I can find one. Tim Chase says, does Art step in at all this year? It's hard for us to know. Probably not. I think he'll have the input, though, once the season ends.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine him getting involved at this point right now, to be honest with you. But stranger things have had that. We're not used to seeing him in this situation in the same breath.
And the people love your singing. Dun7227 says, sounds great, Dave. And David says, sounds beautiful. So the people love you, Dave.
Right, they're humoring me, aren't they? They're mocking me, aren't
No,
they?
they're laughing with you, not at you, I promise. All right, so that's going to wrap things up again. I know this is a little bit later. Sorry about that. But whenever we come back in 2 weeks, we'll be back at 7 p.m. So appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for all the super chats. A ton of them. Certainly, really do appreciate that and the great support despite this team being 2-6 and coming off a bad loss. Never know exactly what you're going to get in terms of listenership and viewership and all that. But really happy with the turnout tonight. And Dave, as always, thank you for being part of this live stream.
Yeah, thank you for putting it on the way you do, and happy Halloween, everybody, and appreciate all the support and the attendance tonight. Peace and love, everybody.
All right, I'm going to try to end this a little bit differently, just visually speaking, to make myself look a little more professional. So I have an image on the screen instead of my traditional, you guys see me actually ending the live stream. But you guys can go back and watch this on YouTube or on Steelers Depot. We'll put up an archive version of this a little bit later on the site. So appreciate you guys being here, and we'll talk to you soon.